and welcome to Ensigns to the Nations.
This is our YouTube channel where we always talk about powerful insights to the Come Follow Me lessons, and we do it from different temples around the world. This week we are at the Winter Quarters, Nebraska temple, which we have never been here before, so we are excited to bring our episode from this great new temple.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. As you all know, the people who were here at Winter Quarters had a lot of problems, had a lot of issues. They did things though because they had faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and they had faith in the prophet. One such person was a person named Mary Bronson Ensign. Her and her husband, Horace Daddis Ensign, and their 6 kids spent some time here. Mary, very much like a woman from, where was it? Zarephath? Zarephath. It was also a widow soon after they got here. Horace Daddis died. And so Mary had to make some important decisions of whether or not she should continue on in faith and in sacrifice, or she could stay here or go home or something.
And these are one of two of my favorite stories from this week's lesson, which is 1 Kings 12 to 13 and 17 to 22nd. So you're talking about the widow of Zarephath.
Yeah.
I also love the angel who ministered to Elijah.
Yeah.
So we're going to hear more about those as we talk about this week's lesson.
These are great examples in the scriptures, and we have some great examples from people who died right here in Winter Quarters and who sacrificed right here in Winter Quarters. Because of that widow, Mary Bronson Ensign, hundreds, even thousands of people, ensigns and other families, have made it to the Salt Lake Valley, had a good testimony of Jesus Christ, and it's all because that widow did some sacrifice.
Well, let's jump into the Come Follow Me lesson then.
Sounds good.
So we start off with the death of King Solomon.
Yes.
And that leaves his son Rehoboam, who is now the new king. And what happens?
So Rehoboam, he says he wants to talk to the people and ask the people what they want. He does so, and they say, well, can you be a little bit nicer and not tax us so much and all that? And Rehoboam's like, oh, I don't know. And he goes and asks a bunch of old guys who are
2 different groups of people.
2 different groups.
The first is a bunch of the wise elders.
The elders that have been around for a long time. And he talks to them, and they say, well, you should serve.
Yep,
that's the most important thing.
12:7, and they spake unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and wilt serve them and answer them and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever.
Right.
So that sounds like wise counsel.
Yes.
Right? Be a good leader. Serve those under you.
Not sure he really liked it, because he goes then and talks to a bunch of his friends.
His buddies.
People who are about the same age as him, and they say, well, heck, you should just, you're the king, you can do anything you want to. I wouldn't lax on the taxes.
No, in fact, increase them. In verse 11 it says, and now whereas my father did laid you with this is what the friends tell them to say, whereas my father did laid you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke.
Yeah.
My father hath chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions.
Right. Scorpions probably meaning little metal barbs on the end of the whips, which of course is more than just whips. Rehoboam goes with that one. And there's a guy there, his name is Jeroboam, and he was sort of in charge of all of the work groups and organizing all that. And he, earlier in his life, a prophet came to him, took his coat, ripped it up into 12 pieces, and gave him 10 of the pieces and said, you're going to be king over these 10 pieces. Well, this is his chance right now. He says, hey, we're not doing this. I'm taking 10 tribes, and we're all going up north. So he does.
So he becomes the king of these 10 tribes up in the northern area. And this is going to be considered Israel.
Yes.
This is Israel.
Yes,
and then the 2 tribes stay down in south,
Judah and
with
Benjamin.
Rehoboam, and that is Judah.
Yes. So you hear the northern tribes, or Israel,
southern tribes
are Judah. And this is going to be split for a very long time. This is the splitting of Israel. Jeroboam doesn't do so good up there. When he gets up there, he realizes that the temple is still in Jerusalem. And when people go down there to do their worship, well, they have a hard time because they like where they were. And so he instead goes and says, well, I am going to make some temples of my own, and I'm going to make some idols. And he actually makes golden calves.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts these into these temples, so they don't have to
There's a
travel all the
little
way
bit
down
of
to
this
Jerusalem.
idol worship going on in the north and the south.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe that they do golden calves. I mean, that was Israel's downfall in the first place. So not a good idea. Jeroboam and Rehoboam, then they're going along. 7 generations pass, and then we get to this awesome prophet named Elijah. Elijah comes and talks to the king. His name is Ahab. The king is Ahab.
And this is not the nicest king that there has ever been. This is the 7th one in the area. The area is in some turmoil, and they have a lot of turnover with their kings.
Yeah.
But they're now on their 7th. This is Ahab, who you may know was married to the infamous Jezebel.
Yes. And so Elijah says, listen, there's not going to be any more rain. I'm taking charge here. I got the power because I'm with the Lord, and I'm telling you right now, there's not going to be any rain. In fact, he says, there shall not be dew nor rain in these years. Now, this was in defiance specifically of the god Baal or Baal or Baal. It's B-A-A-L, and it's pronounced many different ways. But they were worshiping Jehovah sometimes, and some other time. So that's not good. They don't want to do that. And Elijah's like, well, then I'm gonna cause some problems. So he does. He makes a drought. He goes.
Elijah seals the heavens so that there is no rain to come down.
And the interesting thing is, Baal is supposed to be a god of the heavens. He's supposed to be that.
Yes, of like the weather.
Yeah.
In their minds, he is released from the underworld for 6 months of the year.
Oh yeah.
So during the rainy season, this Baal is released, and that's where they get their rain, and so that's how they get their crops. And he's also the god of fertility. So if now Elijah comes along and seals the heavens, that's a big deal to these people, because he's saying, I have power over your God who you are worshiping that's going to bring this rain. Well, I say my God can seal the heavens and stop the rain from coming.
Right. So this was the first little clash between these two gods, and we'll see another big one a little later, which is pretty awesome. Elijah goes and hangs out at a brook called Cherith, and he sits there while there's drought is going on. He camps out there, doesn't have any food, doesn't have any water. The Lord says, well, drink from that brook and I'll send you food. And he sends food with ravens. And ravens bring him bread and bring him food.
So he's got water from the brook, and he's got food from these birds that are bringing it to him every day.
The brook dries up, though, which is interesting. You'd think that God would just make that brook not dry up because it's right there. But you know what? Everybody has problems, even the prophets. So he's told to go over to a place called Zarephath. And in there, he meets who?
Well, we don't know her name, but it's the widow. It's the widow.
It's the widow. And so this widow is gathering wood, getting ready to cook a meal. He says to her, hey, I'm really thirsty, can you get me some water? She says okay, and she goes off to get water, and then he says, oh, and also get me a cake. And by the way, cake, when they talk about it here in the scriptures, is always is not like a big cake, but it's probably like.
Well, they use the word cake in the scripture, so.
Do quite often.
True, it's not going to be a fluffy cake with the sprinkles and.
Like a birthday cake. what is it, cake? Patty, cat.
But it's still something good to eat, for sure.
That's what he wanted. And she kind of says, I don't have any. In fact, this was gonna be our last meal. I only have enough for one meal. It's me and my son, and we were probably gonna die.
And you really need to paint this picture in your mind. She's on her deathbed along with her son. She's not just saying, oh no, I'm too busy or anything like that. She is dying.
Yeah.
This is it. She's out there I just picture this poor widow right at the gates there of the city trying to pick up those sticks, and what a sad little sight.
Right.
And then to have Elijah come and say, hey, how about you make me some cake? So this is a big ask right now. Yeah.
Well, it's a big ask, and it means faith. And this is similar to what we were just talking about with the pioneers. They have to have faith that this is something. Now, she was not an Israelite. She was a Gentile. But she must have been able to feel the Spirit and know that this guy is a prophet and know that this is the right thing to do. And he then says, listen, if you give me that cake, then I'll make sure that your barrel of cornmeal and your craft of oil never dry up. And she's got to have a lot of faith here, because again, she's going to either make this for her son or not.
And I, as a mother, can guarantee you that she had some inspiration that this was a prophet.
She would have to.
Otherwise, you do not give the last of your food to a stranger above yourself and your son. Right, Jonah? I would never.
Right.
Well, she does make the cake, and she does bring him in, and for days they eat great. And it all works, and faith that she had preceded the miracle that she continued to have cornmeal and oil.
And I love that story. She had the faith, and the blessings came after of continued sustenance for her and her son.
So sometimes those blessings don't come until after we're dead.
That's true. That's true.
Like Mary Bronson's husband, our ancestor Horace Battis Ensign, he died in winter quarters, and God didn't give him any sustenance then, but when he was, there surely be blessings after this life for those that don't get it here.
Blessings for yourself, blessings for your posterity.
Yeah.
Look at the Ensign posterity and how they have grown because of the faith of Horace Battis and Mary Bronson.
Yeah,
which is so, I love thinking about that as we're right here at the winter quarters where all that happened. So
way cool. The miracles didn't stop there for this poor widow. Her son then ended up dying, and she's like, why? What happened? Go this way. And so Elijah performs probably the first recorded resurrection that we have.
I think it was,
He rose this child from the dead, and she was then happy. Again, faith precedes the miracle. Well, this is Elijah's jump into the world here and into Scripture. He then goes, and after 3 years of drought, he then goes and talks to King Ahab, and he says, and he brings everybody together, and he says, listen, you've got to choose. Either the Lord is God, and you follow him, or Baal is God and you follow him. So which one are you going to do?
And I don't think the people knew.
Oh, they didn't know, right?
Like, oh, well, okay, I got to choose, but who should I choose?
Yeah. Then he showed the most awesomest power ever. He tells
helped them decide.
Yes, he tells all the people. He says, we're going up to Mount Carmel. I'm going up there. You can bring 450 of your priests of Baal and this other god, and we're going to do a contest. And so they get up there, and they build an altar to do a sacrifice. They have the bullock and everything, but they don't light the altar. And Elijah says,
they have two of these altars. He lets them choose first, right?
Right.
Yes.
He says, you guys can go first, and they go and they pray and they shout and they dance and they yell and they do everything they think they can to say, hey, Baal, do this for us. and nothing happens.
And this went on for hours.
Yes, went
pretty
on
much
all day long.
long.
And so Elijah even, he jokes with him a little bit and says, hey, I guess your God's, asleep, or he's, off doing something. You better wake him up.
Well, let me read from verse 27. And it came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is talking or he is pursuing. Like maybe he's out there talking or running after somebody else. Or he is in a journey, or peradventure he sleepeth and must be awaked. Maybe your God is asleep.
Yeah.
Try yelling louder, guys. It really is such a mocking tone that he uses.
So then it's Elijah's turn. Elijah actually makes it even harder. First of all, he fixes the altar. He puts 12 stones on there for the 12 tribes of Israel. And then he pours a bunch of water all over the wood, digs a trench around there and fills it with water. And then he prays, and it's only one prayer. Hear me, O Lord, hear me. And then it works. The fire comes down from heaven, lights the altar on fire, dries up all the water even, and
it's a huge pillar. It goes boom.
Yeah.
I love how he set it up to be impossible.
Yeah.
Any other way, like with the water and
so then, after all that, and everybody's watching, and everybody's seeing all that, he goes and prays and says, okay, now let the rain come. And it did. The rain came, they opened the skies, the heavens, and everything worked out. You'd think right after that he would be so happy, everything's working really good, he did all this power, but he wasn't. He was sad because people, sure, they might have thought that it was cool, but then they started disbelieving.
Well, Ahab went and told Jezebel what happened, and Jezebel threatens to kill him.
Yeah.
So of course he has to run and hide. He's terrified of this woman. She is not just any, grumpy woman or anything. She is evil.
Yes.
There's a reason why she is associated with evil. She really is.
Right.
She's involved in a lot of encouraging things like a child sacrifice and promiscuous behavior and all kinds of things.
Right.
So anyway, he's terrified of her. So he does go and hide, and he's very down now, even though he has performed these miracles, these huge miracles. Things are not quite working out the way he had hoped.
He's very discouraged, and he even says, it is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life. So he's done. He falls asleep under a juniper tree, and then he
requests to die. In verse 4 it says, and he requested for himself that he might die, and said, it is enough now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers.
Yeah. He was done. So he falls asleep under this juniper tree. He feels a tap on his shoulder, and he looks up, and he sees a couple of things. One, a cake sitting there, cooked.
And a drink.
And an angel. And the angel says, oh, eat and drink and rest. I'm glad that you have done what you've done. And so he does. He eats and drinks, and then he takes another nap, and then he feels another tap on his shoulder, and it's the same angel, and he gives him some more food and some more to drink, and he says, okay, well, I'm glad you're all rested up. Now it's time to get going.
Well, I got to read verse 7. I love what the angel says. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee.
Right.
And I just think sometimes is our journey too great? Do we feel like that? Our journey is too great. It's too hard. We just want to fall asleep and say, I'm done. You can take me now because I've had it. With all of these things, whether it's physical, mental stresses, financial stresses, I can't do it anymore. This journey is too great. And that wonderful angel who I'd like to meet someday. I don't know who this angel was, but to come down and say, here, have some cake, have some drink. Your journey is too great right now. Not like, get up, get back to work right now. No, right now, let me just nourish you with this, because things are too hard.
Right.
So
that happens to us all the time, right? We're just spent. We can't do anything more. And sometimes we do get angels. Who are our angels nowadays?
they can be our neighbors, they can be our
Yes.
family, they can be friends, they can be strangers. I think anybody that shows up for us in our time of need is that angel for us.
I remember a time when we were younger, we only had 2 kids, Blake and Julia, and they were very little, and we were sick as dogs. We couldn't do anything, and we were sitting there thinking, what are we going to do? We can't take care of these kids.
Well, they're so little, and
They were
we
so
didn't have any
little.
older kids to help out
Knock,
at the
knock,
time.
knock on the door, and it was our neighbor, the Locks.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Locks? And they came, and she says, oh, well, let me take your kids. And they did. They babysat the kids. They even brought us some soup, and we just sat back thinking, oh, wow, these are prayers come true. These were angels. These were somebody who didn't say, oh, come on, you're just a little sick. They helped us, and that's what we need quite often.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there, and they're there. So he goes up to Mount Horeb, or Mount Sinai, which is of course where Moses got the 10 Commandments. And it's a 40-day walk, and he takes that much time to probably get into his head. Okay, I got to do something here. What am I going to do? When he gets up there and he talks to God, he says, I'm all by myself. I need some help here. How am I going to fix this? And God tells him stuff, and he realizes that when he is being told things, he first hears this wind, tons of wind coming. He didn't hear the Lord's in that wind. Then there was an earthquake. He didn't hear the Lord's voice in the earthquake. And then it was a still small voice. And that's when he heard the voice. We all know about the still small voice. I was thinking about there's a primary song about the still small voice, and I can always remember that when I was a kid, and how it's just a teeny thing, and we have to really pay attention to the still small voice. Well, so God does tell him. You need some help. You need to go find Elisha, and he's going to be your next replacement. He's going to help you out and be your replacement. He does find Elisha, and he puts his coat around him, which is meaning you're taking on my mantle. So.
And Elisha is immediately willing
Yes,
to go.
absolutely.
He's out working.
He drops everything.
And he
goes
drops
after him.
everything and goes with Elijah, and they're a power team.
Right.
So, we'll get more into Elisha
Yep.
in future episodes. So, back to our See, Study, Shine. Hopefully this week you see these stories a little bit differently. I know I do. The widow of Zarephath, and how sacrifice can bring blessings, just like it does now with fasting, tithing, missionary work. These sacrifices bring great blessings that we may see somewhere down the line, like Jonah was saying, maybe not today, maybe not immediate blessings,
Maybe
but
in our eternal
they will
realm.
come. And then also see that angels minister. They came to Elijah when he was through and was just done, and nourished him and strengthened him, and we can do that too.
And see that those kinds of things happened, and that we have history in a place like Winter Quarters, Nebraska. We have history of that exactly thing happening with the saints, with the pioneers, with our ancestors. Those kinds of things did happen, just like they
And
happened.
angels ministered back in that day.
Absolutely.
The story of the family, this is a true story at Winter Quarters, where the father was sick, the children had scurvy and malaria. They were all sick. And can you imagine, being in some cabin at Winter Quarters and being that sick? And so one of the daughters, Belle was her name, went out to try to find help. And while she was gone, the family was ministered by 2 people they described as tall and happy and wearing clothes that they were unfamiliar to them. That's how they described them. And they brought them food. These 2 strangers brought them food, helped chop wood, and then they left. And when Belle came back, she came back with help. And they described that we've already been ministered to by these people, and these were angels.
Yes.
There's a movie that was made out about this. So this is a miraculous story more in modern times. It's very similar how angels attend.
And I'm sure we can find all kinds of stories where angels attend.
And so study
the awesome prophet Elijah, this faithful widow from Zarephath, and even studying the lives of these misguided and often bad choice-making kings that we have. We study their lives and we learn something from them.
And I think the doctrine of God's sovereign power over nature, too.
Oh, yeah.
We learned a lot about that in this lesson, right?
Yeah.
Elijah's survival with the ravens and the brook, and then of course the absolute control, like with the fire that came down, and the rain, all of those things.
And listen quietly for the still small voice.
And how do we shine then? We can be angels to other people, and we can be obedient to the commandments, and we can step out with faith, knowing that the blessings will come.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being here with us in Winter Quarters, Nebraska. We hope to visit other temples as well. They're all beautiful, and there's always a great spirit around here. And so just join us next time on
Ensigns.